Absolutely massive news today. Kind of changes my content plan. But my favorite team, as many of you know, you see the Saquon stuff behind me, has made a new hire at head coach. And it's Brian Daboll of the Buffalo Bills will be the new head coach of the Giants. Listen, when we hired Joe Judge, when the Giants hired Joe Judge, it was kind of like, I don't know. Like, I'm optimistic, obviously, but cautiously optimistic. We don't really know. Special teams coordinator, Belichick tree. We don't really know what he's going to be. And then, obviously, Joe Judge did anything but pan out for the Giants over the past couple of years. He was pretty bad. Maybe not quite as bad as Ben McAdoo or Pat Shurmur even, but pretty bad. I don't know. It's tough. They're all so terrible in their own ways. But what can you say about Brian Daboll? We know about him. We know how he transformed this Bills offense. He's a creative play caller, and that's really the thing I'm most excited about. We are going to do a little bit of box score watching here for a second, but let's check out Josh Allen. Obviously, Bills quarterback under Brian Daboll. And listen, I understand Josh Allen, how good he's been the past couple years, but 2019 rookie Josh Allen was horrible. Year 2, Josh Allen took a step, and a big reason why is because of the reworking of his mechanics. Now, a lot of that can be attributed to, many guys on the Bills coaching staff and front office and their willingness to stick with him and, push for Josh Allen to improve. I think Brian Daboll is a huge part of that. The reworking of the throwing mechanics was the big thing. But I think if anyone's going to unlock the potential of a future quarterback, and I'm not saying it's Daniel Jones, by the way, that's certainly up in the air. I'm not the biggest believer in Daniel Jones. I never have been. I think it's been pretty clear on this channel for a long time. Never been a huge Daniel Jones guy, but Daniel Jones does have some things in common with Josh Allen. He doesn't have the arm, but he is athletic, so he's going to be able to get out in space. So design runs could be a big part of the Giants offense in 2022, which can hopefully utilize one of Daniel Jones' strengths. He doesn't have the best arm. He can't really stretch the field too much. He flashes at times, don't get me wrong. You can pull up a highlight and be like, wow, this kid's legit. But you need it on a down-to-down basis. And, Daniel Jones certainly has not been that guy. But if you look at the development of Josh Allen, year 1, pretty awful. Year 2, took a step, still wasn't amazing. And then year 3, 2020 last year, breakout year. Josh Allen was fantastic. In 2021, we saw maybe a slight regression more towards the mean, but he was still quite good. And obviously we know what he did the last couple playoff games was incredible. So I'm not saying that that's going to be Daniel Jones necessarily, but maybe the next quarterback the Giants have. With Daniel Jones, I would be surprised to see him take a big step. But what I need to see is a simplified offense, which doesn't mean not being creative, by the way, but it means some more short game. I think we can look at Isaiah McKenzie, kind of this do-it-all guy for the Bills. He's had a couple good games. He's not this crazy player, but he's shifty. He can do a number of different things for you, even if he doesn't do anything particularly amazingly. Had this big game, 11 for 125 against New England. And it's Isaiah McKenzie, right? I think the idea with Isaiah McKenzie can be put on display with Kadarius Toney a lot. Injuries were a big problem for him his rookie year. Even got ejected from a game for throwing a punch. Classic. But Kadarius Toney, if you saw him at Florida, even if you saw him a little bit in the league this year, this guy is extremely effective with the ball in his hands. That's his biggest strength. It isn't getting open, catching the ball. Like, he can do those things. He is good at those things, but he is electric with the football. That's his biggest strength. So what do we want to do with those players? We need to get them the football no matter what. Don't complicate things. Get the ball in the hands of your playmakers, and Kadarius Toney certainly can be that. You need to creatively get him the football. You see what Eric Bieniemy and the Chiefs do in Kansas City with the touch passes, getting Tyreek Hill involved out of the backfield, Mecole Hardman, even Travis Kelce. You need to find creative ways to get the ball into the hands of your playmakers. Kadarius Toney is someone that the Giants need to build around and develop, and I think Brian Daboll, hopefully, from what we saw in Buffalo, will be able to do that. So I'm excited about Brian Daboll, not only because of the whole development of quarterbacks, but the creativity that he could potentially bring in offense. Obviously, with new GM Joe Shane, it kind of makes sense to bring in the Buffalo connection with Brian Daboll, but I'm super excited about this. And even though there needs to be a certain cautious optimism going forward, as we've seen with the Giants, I think things are moving in the right direction, which is ultimately the goal. The Giants have talent at certain positions, even if the roster overall is flawed. And if we look at what the Giants need to do in the draft, it is beef up the O-line. You have the weapons on offense. Saquon, hopefully big and healthy in 2022, having a bounce back year. Kenny Golladay, year 2 in New York with a different play caller. Excited about that. Kadarius Toney. Now, the future of certain other players remains up in the air. Will the Giants retain Evan Ingram? Not sure about that. Sterling Shepard could be in line to be cut. Darius Slayton, I'm not sure, is on the team next year. There are a number of different things that will happen, but what I can pretty much assure you based on the contracts and all logic says Kenny Golladay and Kadarius Toney will be on the team in 2022. Now, Kenny Golladay could be utilized similarly to the way that Gabriel Davis was, but I think we can agree that Kenny Golladay is a better player than Gabriel Davis. Kadarius Toney can be utilized kind of in the way that Isaiah McKenzie had at times. He's not going to be a Stephon Diggs type player where he's receiver 1 best in the league, and I'm not sure the Giants look to draft one in this year, but they could. You're talking about second, third round, maybe a receiver that falls. If Jameson Williams falls to the top of the second round because of the ACL tear, if John Mechie's available in the third round, these are things you would consider to potentially get another receiver in there if you keep Darius Slayton or Sterling Shepard. These are decisions that GM Joe Shane is going to have to make, obviously. But the foundation is starting to be there. You have Andrew Thomas. He's starting to develop at left tackle. That's your guy over there. But the rest of the positions on the O-line are kind of up for grabs. We don't really know about Matt Pert. We know Nate Solder's not going to be it. I like Nick Gates at center coming back. He was injured. I think that hurt the Giants' offensive line significantly this past year. Will Hernandez really isn't it. Shane Lemieux's not it. So you need to upgrade guard, center potentially with Nick Gates, guard, and tackle. So there's a lot of room for improvement on this offensive line still. And Joe Shane's going to play a big role in deciding how that's upgraded, whether it's through free agency or the draft. The Giants don't have a ton of money. So I'm not sure what their options are going to be through free agency, but this is a big year to build through the draft. And the Giants finally have to accept that they're not ready to compete. This is a rebuild, so put the pieces in place to be successful long term. Stop trying to push for mediocrity. The Giants' recent Super Bowls were built upon, if we get to the playoffs, we can be successful. And that worked out. 9 and 10 wins in 2007 and 2011, both Super Bowl winning seasons where the Giants snuck into the playoffs and happened to win some playoff games. That isn't sustainable. And the Giants have made the playoffs, one time since the 2011 Super Bowl? I want to say in 2016. They've been pretty horrible to mediocre at best the other years. So you have to fully accept, hey, we're not going to be competitive. Let's stop trying to push for 6 or 7 wins and say, hey, we suck. Draft offensive linemen. Save your money. Don't shell out ridiculous contracts on so-so veterans. And that's Nate Solder, I'm looking at you. Leonard Williams is going to be someone that's up in the air long term. He'll probably be on the roster in 2022, certainly. But the Giants need to focus on shedding salary and embrace the tank, get better long term. I think the offense under Brian Daboll is going to be a lot more dynamic in 2022. I'm excited about it. I'm hesitant to be excited about the Giants, but I think finally the Giants have a creative play caller and a GM that's going to be able to take the reins and not let Mara run the organization. Now, there have been rumors to say Mara is going to have the final say, and Mara really likes Flores, and I like Brian Flores a lot as a head coach. Don't get me wrong. However, I think Joe Shane hiring Brian Daboll as opposed to Brian Flores says that he's going to have control, and based on the rebuild that happened in Buffalo to build up one of the best defenses in the league, and obviously we know about Josh Allen, the ability to go out and trade for some of these guys, like Stephon Diggs, that can turn a franchise around. I'm excited. I really am. And I hate the Giants as much as I love them. I also hate them because it's been terrible to be a fan this past decade. But the Giants finally, I think under Brian Daboll, will be moving forward and getting in a position to go far. And it's not going to be next year probably. Might not even be 2023. but hopefully by 2024, the Giants have a good solid foundation where they can at least compete for a division crown once again. So that's all I got for you today. Let me know what you think about the Brian Daboll hire in the comments below. And yeah, cautious optimism as always, but I'm actually excited. So that's all I got for you. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy. I banged my mic. All right.
Insane, I hit it at the park, bend bones. See me high step to the end zone. My life like a game, Nintendo. Playing with the best, let them know. Get off the track, the train's coming through. Yeah. Promise you get in my way, then you best believe I'ma just run over you. Yeah, yeah. Papa turn, taking it back to the house. Defensive joke, I'm laughing so loud. Speedbird's good.